Hello my Facebook friends. Listen, this is going to be a little bit of a long video. This is my first day out of Facebook jail again, banned again for 30 days for telling the truth. People said to me, Liam, why don't you go onto Instagram and Telegram and places like that there where you won't be censored? And my answer is, my mission in life is to educate people and help people, people who are misinformed, and those people are found on Facebook, not on the other ones, yeah? So in order to get my message across, I run the gauntlet of being censored, but the people I want to get in contact with are the people who still believe in the narrative, and they are found on Facebook, but I do say I run the risk. So I felt compelled to do this video today because I got a little message yesterday on my phone. I'm going to hide the person's name, and okay, I'm going to read it out to you. Okay, I'm going to read it out in its entirety. She's probably watching this video and she knows who I'm talking about. Hi Liam, I recommended my sister, Susan, not her real name, to you a few months ago. She's from Belfast and was very sick, and she's now doing so well since getting her super products off you. That was the Dr. Wolf's products. Unfortunately, I need some help myself to build up my own immune system. I had COVID in March, and since then I haven't been myself. 2 weeks ago, I took shingles and I've had mouth ulcers and sore throat for 3 weeks now. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? So I rang her back, she didn't answer, and then I got a message, sorry Liam, I'm in work, I'll call you later. So about 2 hours later, I was driving home and I got a phone call from her, and just more or less started to reiterate what she said in the message. And I said, please, not her real name, stop, love, tell me this before we go any further. Have you been vaccinated by any chance? And she sort of more or less cried over the phone to me. She said, yes, Liam, I know, I'm stupid, but I had to get from work. My work insisted, and I haven't been the same since. I says, oh my God. I said, okay, I know how to help you, and I'll talk to you about it later. So that's just one of the many, many people. All of my friends who have got, you know what, have all come down with COVID. Every single one of them. And I tried to explain to them why that was. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to resort to the good book again. The good book says that a man's lifespan, or woman's, is 70. 70 is 70 years, okay? So, the Pfizer company told the government that they wanted the results of their test reports hidden, kept secret for 75 years. Why would that be, do you think? Thankfully, Federal Judge Mark Pittman made them release the documents. Reluctantly they did. And in March they released 10,000 pages. I have some of them here. This makes for damning reading. And there are 1,084 adverse reactions. Their words, not mine, to look out for. It says on the front page, the information contained in this document is proprietary and confidential. Confidential, that means nobody's supposed to see it. And since that, the Pfizers have released $86,000 documents. Okay? Now, to get you in the right frame of mind, I don't want you to be relying on university graduates, okay, for advice. I don't want you to be relying on high school teachers for advice, even though I was a high school teacher. I want you to be a high school teacher or a university graduate or a university professor. All that's required of you is to have a good memory and reiterate the stuff you would learn. More like copy and paste. That's all it takes to get a grade A in A level. Okay? Instead, I want you to think outside the box, like this guy. Right? Columbo thinks logically and outside the box. He's analytically thinking. Remember Columbo? He was good. Okay? So, without further ado, I'm now going to explain to you the difference between a traditional vaccine and the new revolutionary experimental messenger RNA vaccine. Before we go any further, I want everyone to know, by the way, this video I'm sending it to out on Facebook 90% of the people watching it will be my Facebook friends who agree with everything I say. I want you to send this to your friends who are not like you and I. There's no point in me preaching to the converted. I want you to send this message, because I'm going to be sending this to all my family and friends who still believe the opposite what I think, okay? So, a traditional vaccine. All my children, all my grandchildren, all my dogs, cats, horses, cattle, my friends' cattle, all vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated, apart from the flu vaccine. I've stopped getting it 10 years ago. I'm a full agreement with the traditional vaccines, apart from the additives that they put into it. Now, a traditional vaccine is, the way I explained it in one of my other videos is, let's say you've got a big tiger, he's the king of the jungle, he's King Stud, right? And he's got an abscess in his tooth, and he's going crazy and he's causing havoc in the jungle. So what the gamekeepers do is they knock him out, and there'll be an anaesthetist, or if you're from the States, an anesthesiologist, putting a little drip into his neck, and they will be operating on his tooth, and nothing. You can put that tiger in a children's playground and let the kids play all around it. Nothing can happen because it's sedated. Okay? I want to get you in the right frame of mind here. So that's what they do in a traditional vaccine. They get a virus that causes an ailment or a bacteria, and they treat it in such a way that they knock it out. They do not kill it, but they make it incapable of reproducing. That's the secret. They make it incapable of reproducing. And they put it into the deltoid muscle of your arm, and what will happen then is B lymphocytes will come and see it. They will make antibodies for it. Those antibodies will float around your bloodstream, and when the real virus comes along, if it comes along in later life, you will have the ammo there ready and waiting for it. You do not give a vaccine to someone who has had the ailment, because that's stupid. You give it to the person before they get it, so they'll be prepared for it when it comes. And some of those antibodies last for years. The polio antibodies, I think, last a lifetime. The tetanus vaccine lasts, I think, 10 years. You have to get your dogs and cats vaccinated on a regular basis. Blah, blah, blah. That's a traditional vaccine. And most of you guys who have been vaccinated foolishly think that is what you have got in your arm. Wrong. I'm now going to tell you what a messenger RNA vaccine is. Now, this last 2 years I've been teaching you and spreading the gospel, and I haven't been using any big words. I've kept it really simple. Today I'm going to be going a wee bit heavier. This is an A-level biology, immunology, 15-minute coming now, okay? Stay with me. Do not be put off by the big words, okay? So, okay, my friends, to get you in the right frame of mind, for me to educate you on a messenger RNA vaccine, in Portadown, we have a very famous furniture factory called McDonald's. When someone wants to order something, you look up the McDonald's brochure. Let's say Jim wanted a coffee table. So he rings up McDonald's, phone call goes into the office, and they say, listen, I'm looking at your brochure, item number 664, coffee table. I want you to make it for me, please. And they say, no problem. So what then happens is, from the office, they will print out the dimensions and the spec for the coffee table, and they will say to the guy in the office, Peter, run down to the workshop and give them this little message here. This is the blueprint for making a coffee table. Now, isn't that simple? A 5-year-old can understand that. A 5-year-old person can understand that. From the office, a message is sent to the workshop to make a coffee table. And they will say to the guy in the workshop, when you have the coffee table made, send it out to Jim. Simple? Okay. Now, this is where it gets a little bit heavy. You started off life when Daddy's sperm met Mummy's egg. Daddy's sperm, Mummy's egg. When them two came together, one cell was formed. And inside that cell, there are chromosomes. 23 from daddy, 23 from mommy. So you have chromosomes in here, right? If you don't understand this, your son or daughter who goes to school will tell you about this, okay? Most of you probably do know this anyway. Inside the cell, I'm going to be a bit more technical here. So actually, what happens inside the cell is this. There is a nucleus. And that's where the chromosomes are stored, in the nucleus. Okay? Now, when you were in mommy's womb, a gene in here, in one of those chromosomes, let's say you're a male, a biological male, you've got a penis, right? A gene for penis. Now here is where I'm going to use a big, big word. The rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay? The rough endoplasmic reticulum. That's what that bit's called in the cell. That is the office. There's McDonald's furniture factory. There is the office. There is the workshop. Inside each of your cells, you have a special part called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. That is the workshop. So what happens is, when you were in mommy's womb, a message is sent down here to the rough endoplasmic reticulum, telling it to make a penis. Okay. That their message is called messenger RNA. The stuff inside the nucleus is called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. The message that goes, the gene that goes down from that to the factory is called messenger RNA, ribonucleic acid. Up here it's deoxyribo, down here the deoxy bit's taken away, and you've left with the ribonucleic acid, RNA. And because it goes from there to there in a message form, it's called messenger RNA. Now, I hope I haven't complicated two things. That's a bit heavy, but I want you to understand the McDonald's furniture factory analogy, okay? So now, my friends, I'm going to show you how the messenger RNA vaccine is made. I'm going to be using a few big words here. Stick with me, okay, please. So, here we have a coronavirus. One coronavirus, it's got spikes on it. There is our coronavirus with spikes on it. It's the spikes that the immune system sees, it's the spikes that the immune system attacks, okay? So they have worked out that we can make spikes. This is going to help us in our vaccine product, blah, blah, blah. So inside the old COVID-19 virus, there is just the one strand of genetic material. And a part of that, now this is what really, really intrigues me. A little part of that, they have worked out in the lab using highfalutin microbiology, the gene that makes that virus produce a spike. So what they have done in the lab is they have copied that and they make synthetic copies of that gene. Okay? They put it into a vial. When you get vaccinated, they now have it in vaccine form, and they inject it into the deltoid muscle of your arm, like so. A bit messy, but you get the idea. Okay, they put it into the deltoid muscle. Okay. Into the deltoid muscle, where it is not supposed to leave. It is not supposed to leave. And what is supposed to happen is, once it was into the deltoid muscle, once it was into the big muscle of your arm, here we have all the muscle cells. This is a collection of muscle cells. There's millions and millions of muscle cells in your deltoid muscle. So, here we have the old hypodermic needle coming in, putting into it 40 million genes. Okay? Now, how do those genes get into your muscle? Now here I'm going to do a little bit more heavy falutin biology. It's my my son. Everybody calls him Liam. He used to call me Big Liam and called him Wee Liam. His real name is William Joseph, named after my all-time hero, Joey Dunlap. He lives in Canada. So if I was sending him a birthday card with money in it, and I put, say, 100 quid, 100 Canadian dollars into that envelope as it is, put it in the letterbox, postman will come along at collecting time, you get the big mail bag, and you put it onto the big mailbox, and you pull all the mail together, that will go off to Craigavon sorting office, and it will lie there, because nobody knows where it's going. But if I put it in an envelope, and put a stamp on it, and put his name and address on it, that will get right through his letterbox in Vancouver. Okay? Isn't that simple to understand? Right. So here we have the old gene. Here we have all the genes, 40 million of them going into the muscle. How do we get them to go into the muscle cells? They wrap it in a lipid nanoparticle. Now there's the big words I'm going to use, lipid nanoparticle. Lipid means fat, nano means small. Nano is 1,000 millionth of it. Nanogram is 1,000 millionth of a gram. A nanometer is 1,000 millionth of a meter. In fact, it's so tiny. The tip of that hypodermic needle, the tip of it, would contain about 100,000 genes. That's how small they are. Now, because each cell in your body has a lipid layer, a layer of fat. And when the old virus comes along, whenever the gene comes along, wrapped in a lipid nanoparticle, the cell lining of your cell recognizes it as self. In other words, it sees the lipid. Remember, it is lipid as well. So being wrapped in a lipid nanoparticle, that gene gets into the cell of your muscle. Understand? The lipid nanoparticle allows the gene to enter the cell. Without that layer of lipid, it wouldn't get in. Without me putting my son's birthday card in a wrapping paper and an envelope and stamped, it wouldn't get through his door in Vancouver. Once that gene gets into the cell, there's the cell. I'll do this again. Here is the cell. Here is your muscle cell. And there's the nucleus of your muscle cell. And there is the rough endoplasmic reticulum in your cell. Once that gene gets in here, it goes straight into the factory. And they start making spikes. One gene going into one muscle cell, from my research, would make that one cell produce about 200 spikes. Your muscle cells, the cells of your muscle, all thousands and thousands of them, start turning into hedgehogs. They start looking at the outward appearance. Remember, the inside of the cells is the same as all your other cells, but it's the outward appearance. The outward appearance. Your immune system sees the specks and says, aha, there's the enemy, and they start making antibodies. That's well and good. But what is happening is the genes are not staying in the muscle, they're leaking out into the bloodstream where they should not be, and they're traveling all around the body. Traveling all around the body. When they come to a slow capillary, with a slow movement, let me show you what can happen. So here, see the big veins and arteries in my arm here. The river's going pretty quick. Nothing happens there because the blood's flowing pretty quick. When it comes to a slow moving flow in a capillary, as in your brain or your heart or your lungs or your kidney or your ovaries or your testicles, here we have the narrow capillary. It's very narrow. Here we have the blood coming down. And here we have the genes, the RNA. Here we have the gene for making a spike, right? The gene for making a spike wrapped in a lipid nanoparticle. And if it slows down, the lipid nanoparticle sticks onto the lipid layer of the blood vessel because it's made of fat as well. All cells are made of fat. And the gene goes into the capillary and the capillary cells start making spikes. The lining of your capillaries in your heart, in your lung, in your brain turn into hedgehogs, they turn into viruses, and the immune system attacks it. Whenever the immune system attacks anything, you get inflammation. What is inflammation? You're putting a nail into a wall and the hammer hits your finger. Ah! What happens is your body thinks it's under attack. The blood vessels widen out to allow more immune system soldiers in, to allow more oxygen in, to deal with the problem. That is called inflammation. If it happens in the capillaries in your heart, that's called myocarditis. If those genes, those messenger RNA genes get into your immune system, in your lymph tissues, into your immune system, and they start messing up, they start getting into the cells of your immune system, and they start making spikes, then the immune system, it starts attacking itself. So listen, I don't know what's more I can advise you on this. This is a near-level biology lesson. There should not be any closure by Facebook for me telling the truth. Okay? So I want you to show this video to your friends who are still a bit dubious as to why so many of them and their friends are coming down with ailments. This is not a traditional vaccine. This is an experiment. And I would safely say now, I do have friends who have had no adverse reactions. And the only conclusion I can draw from that is that the gene has stayed in the muscle. It has stayed in their muscle and hasn't leaked out into the blood. But what would happen if, when you're getting injected, and it goes straight into a blood vessel, it hits a pipe and goes straight into the bloodstream? That is an immediate reaction. That's why so many people are having horrible reactions within 48 hours of getting this. Yeah? It's not supposed to go into the blood. Oh my friends, that's it. I read your comments. Thank you very much.